This week on the OneCast, we're going to talk about the MLF schedule and our thoughts on it for this year.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Oh, God, it's a toad, son. Huh? It's a toad, dude.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's going to be a bad day.
What is going on, fans of the OneCast? Welcome back to the OneCast for another episode. The winter has returned to North Carolina. We got a little taste of spring. It was 70s and warm and sunny and nice, and then it's back down to being cold and rainy and wet and miserable. But we're here talking about MLF, which if you're listening to this, you're probably like, hey, man, that stuff started. We know. Much like them, we decided we're not going to give them coverage for the first event. We're going to go straight to the second event since they won't cover the first 2 days. If you haven't been following, that has lit the world on fire, obviously. There's a lot of upset fans.
Which we were talking before is surprising because we remember when all that stuff was released back last fall of all the changes, like that was talked about. And all the comments on their pages and on the fishing forums were like, I actually wanted to tune in. It's the very first major event of the year, and I can't even watch.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. I mean, they're on a really big fish catching lake. And a lot of anglers are really sacking them up. So by the time this episode airs, you guys will see the final results.
We'll know who won. There was 11 pounder caught day one at Toledo Bend, but we'll get into that here in a second. Be sure you head over to OneCastFishing.com. Use the code TheOneCast. Check out the snagless jigs, long neck hooks, soft plastics, weedless nets. Get ready for that spring bite that's coming quick. It may already be there, depending on where you are in the country. They're starting to spawn in Florida, and looks like they're eating pretty good down in Texas. So if you're from that part of the world, you better get ready. If you're not, that's OneCastFishing.com, code TheOneCast, all one word. Also, getting ready, make sure you get your performance gear, your hoodies, which I'm rocking the new hoodie, hats, performance shirts, T-shirts, anything you need for being on the water. That's with our friends over at Carolina Waters. You can head to CarolinaWatersNC.com. Check out everything they have. Again, use the code TheOneCast, all one word, save 20% off your order, get you some gear, get ready for the year.
Also, if you're trying to stow that mullet or if you have a long set of hair, this is something I didn't know about, but show season's been really hot and heavy. Ben has been on the road for almost 30 days. Pete and I have been going to different shows and stuff. Carolina Waters has a really cool ball cap that fits long hairstyles where you can put your hair out back. I don't have that problem because I'm balding, but for those of you who got that luxurious hair and stuff that's so strong it could lift a car off a baby, they got you covered with that kind of hat. So be on the lookout for that. Also, if you're in the market, interest rates and stuff are fluctuating and things like that. But if you guys are in the market of owning your own piece of paradise, hit up our buddy Eric Schwind with Mossy Oak Properties. He's got plenty of land and different opportunities for you guys to explore. Rolling hills, pristine waterways, abundance of wildlife. Eric's going to help you guys find that little piece of paradise. So don't miss out on your opportunity to contact him at eschwind@mossyoakproperties.com. You can also call him or shoot him a text at 936-494-9686. I'll read you his email one more time. It's eschwind@mossyoakproperties.com. Gentlemen.
Trey.
Gentlemen and Trey. So like I said, it's been a super busy month. Yep. I mean, Ben, OneCast Fishing has been on the road all over the place. Break that down real quick for the viewers.
Yeah, I mean, it's been 3 weeks in a row that we've been at the fishing show. So Raleigh, which is here local. So, of course, you go home every night. But after that, 2 weeks on the road, went up to Richmond, went up to Knoxville. Great events. I think we talked about it on a previous episode, but we had folks drive down from New Jersey to come see us. David up there, running into folks that over at Knoxville, the East Tennessee show, that watched the podcast, that's used the product before. It's actually reinvigorating me to get back out on the water and forcing myself. I actually picked my boat back up from service today because I see all these fish catches and I hear these stories. I'm like, man, I've been spending too much time making product. I got to get out and get some fish catches too. So it was a great experience. And that the East Tennessee show, there is a reason why they say it's one of the biggest over in this part of the country for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. The culture of the South is just fish, man. And it's a breath of fresh air to see 2024 roll around. We got a lot of stuff in the pipe right now. And, we all can't be everywhere at once. That's why Pete and myself kind of divided and conquered. We made a couple other show appearances, and we really thank those guys at Anglers Choice Marine for hosting us up in Martinsville, Virginia. And you guys need to definitely stay tuned to that episode because it's got some pretty cool flavor to it. So I'm glad to be back in the studio with you guys. Glad we got the team back. So what are we going to break it down today? What are we going to break it down today? What does that even mean?
What are we going to break it down today?
Are we breaking it down today?
We're going to talk about it.
All right, let's break it down.
We got to break down the MLF schedule for 2024.
BPT, yep.
Yeah, BPT. Sorry, to be more specific, because we have not done that yet. We dropped the MPFL one. Of course, I think Pete and Trey got most of that episode out because we had internet issues as always. But we got to cover them. And as we started, we are a little bit behind, but that's because we had some great guests, some great episodes. This month is a busy month, as we just talked about. But Toledo Bend Stage 1 is going on right now. I don't think we need to talk too much about it because by the time this episode comes out, the results will already be there. But they're catching big pre-spawn girls. I mean, 11-pounder was caught. A 9-pounder was caught today.
A bunch of 8s have been caught.
A bunch of 8s have been caught. So, I mean, it's Toledo Bend showing out like Toledo Bend does.
For sure. The other thing that's going to be out, and I know we're talking BPT, but the other thing that's going to be out are the results from Logan Martin in the National Professional Fishing League. So, folks, you have 2 different tournament sets to look at for all the results and stuff. So, we're pretty excited to see that breakdown. But BPT's got I say it's a pretty cool schedule this year, don't you guys think?
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty basic.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely
like one waterway that's unique. Everything else is kind of where they get. Well, Dale Hollow, it's been a while since we went there. But anyway, we'll get through it one by one.
Yeah, and I will say as we go through one by one, some of these lakes, they are going at slightly different times.
Yeah,
that's true.
So which will be cool to see.
So stage 1, like we said, was Toledo Bend. It's today's day 2. No idea what it looks like down there, what the conditions look like, because there's no coverage days 1 and 2 of MLF anymore on BPT. But they are catching them, or they're not. There's a lot of 1s and 0s and 2s. But then there's guys. Jacob Wheeler went there and absolutely smashed him on day 1. He had an 8-pound big fish. He had an 8-pounder, and I read the article. Obviously, couldn't see it, but he had an 8-pounder like 15 minutes into the start of day 1.
Yeah.
That's a way to get the juices flowing.
I think he had 91 pounds on day 1.
Yeah.
But talking about how it's been up and down there, Cliff Crochet is the one who caught the 11-pounder, but he caught 4 fish for 22 pounds that day.
That's
so
yeah. And Jacob had 90 some 95, 91, something.
91.
He had a huge day and like 38 fish. So the guys that have something figured out are whacking them, and there's some big ones being caught, and then some folks are struggling. But that's sort of the pre-spawn in a nutshell, which they should still be in Texas, Louisiana, that area. They're usually a little bit behind Florida. But then they're going to go stage 2 to Santee mid-February, the 20th through the 25th. So a little bit different time of the year.
Yeah, it's a little bit earlier than where we usually see the major events go. They're usually March or April, sometimes in the May. I mean, I guess it's the last week of February, but that's definitely should be pre-spawn. I don't see it.
I think you're going to see some, I guess you can't call them bags, but I think you're going to see some really big weights come out of Santee, just like you're seeing in Toledo. But I also think the same thing is going to happen. I think those who find them are going to crush them, but then there's probably going to be some people that get their feelings hurt on that body of water. And just imagine, so they changed the rules. We talked about that. Now it's every fish counts or whatever again, which makes for great content if they'd air it. But if it was a 5 fish limit, that leaderboard would be completely different.
Oh, for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
So now I wonder how many people advocated for every fish counts and they're like, dang it. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, most of the anglers wanted to keep it 5 fish. It wasn't them to change it. So I don't think you're going to hear them change. They were happy either way. It was really the fans and leadership or ownership, whoever made that decision.
I'm also a fan of every fish counts in that format. I think it made it very unique for them. I prefer to be able to watch it a little bit too,
I was definitely critical when they made the change and said that I wasn't going to watch. And I didn't watch a single minute of any BPT event last year because it didn't excite me. I'd rather watch Jacob Wheeler. If you're going to catch every fish and let it go out there and catch 90 pounds, 37 fish, than 27 and 5 fish and know at the end of the day without the weighing, excitement and everything.
I actually think I did his average yesterday. I think it was still a 3-pound fish average.
Was it really?
Jacob Halef.
I'm sure. Yeah.
Minus that 1 8-pounder that was, the giant, but
that'll bump the average up.
Yeah. I mean, hey, well, I think
So
I think
Santee,
Santee's going to be great. I think, like we said, it's going to be probably similar to Toledo, different environment, but then they move on.
Definitely pre-spawn.
Yep.
Yeah, I suspect there'll be some. I mean, it depends on weather and how windy it is, because there'll still be fish out. Should be on the main lake and the grass that's out there that that they were targeting last year in March when Bassmaster went there. I forget. And
even Patrick Walters with the MPFL event last year, like he was catching them offshore, doing what he does best. So but anyways,
on one day.
Yeah.
Then the wind blew.
It blew 40 miles an hour.
Buddy, I'll tell you what, I wouldn't want to be on the other side of that lake when that wind's ripping.
And the
like
wind
that.
blew and there was no offshore anymore. But yeah, that was that'll be an interesting one once we can see it, how they attack that during the pre-spawn. I'm sure there's gonna be a lot to learn.
Yep.
Then Red Crest following that, which is exactly 1 week after the Bassmaster Classic, which is an interesting decision. But they're going to head to Lay Lake, which is Bassmaster's home lake. It's right there in Alabama where their headquarters is. Bass went there last year, didn't they?
They did.
Yeah. So Bass went to Lay Lake. That was the first time any major tour had been there in quite a while.
Yep.
It was a pretty normal tournament on Lay Lake. Nothing out of the ordinary. Again, March 14th through 17th. That they should start to catch some spawn fish there in Alabama. Again, weather dependent. That could be a little bit early.
Yeah, I mean, I think bass. It wasn't like a big fish catching situation last year with BASS. It was cool that Will Davis Jr. won on his home lake, and it was cool that Jason Christie caught a 9-pounder, the biggest fish for the year on Lay Lake. Right on, I don't know if it was a frog or if he was flipping. I can't remember.
It was on a frog, yeah.
But I'll tell you what, like, they could run into bigger fish than what bass ran into last year. So we'll see. It's a pretty cool lake, though.
You're right, because it's mid-March.
Yep.
That's down by Birmingham, right? Southern Alabama.
I believe so.
So when I look at it here, because we're quite a bit north of that.
Yep.
We're not quite to spawn yet, but there were many times that a week or two after that, we've got spawners or fry gutters here because we've seen it. So weather this time of year is always weather dependent. You're probably going to hear that a lot for these lakes and any of these tournaments, but there could be some good bags coming out of that one too.
Yep.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I don't even know who's qualified.
I have no clue.
I know KVD.
KVD, so that's who I'm rooting for because
how cool would that be, right?
It'd be his last
KVD's epic final.
It'll be his last MLF event.
It's his encore performance. He's going to come back out on stage one more time and
one more time in MLF. But I don't think we've seen the end of KVD.
No.
But we've talked about that before. So yeah, it'll be cool. Again, I'm not 100% who all qualified because I didn't follow it super close last year because I didn't like the format change. And then I was gonna get more into it this year and I can't watch it, so I probably won't follow it super close this year. Then they're going to Dale Hollow, which again is another place that know where Big's been, well known for some pretty big smallmouth. April 9th through 14th. Good chance of smallmouth are going to be on beds that time. Might actually be a little bit late depending on weather. I know up north we're starting to catch them, pre-spawn around then. That's all the way up north on Erie and stuff, early April. So
Dale Hollow is?
Dale Hollow's in
Tennessee, yeah.
But what I'm saying is it might be late for them for the smallmouth to be spawned. They may be done.
But there's largemouth in there too.
Yeah, there's largemouth, so you'll have some largemouth spawn, but that's a lake that if somebody figures out the brown fish, they'll blow it open because it's well known for big brown fish.
It's not as good as it was back in the day.
True.
And I don't know if they've got the state record in there still or not. I mean, that was a long time ago.
That's where the state record came out of, right? Yeah.
That or maybe it's the world record too.
It could be
from like 1950 something.
Yeah.
I think
we'll have to check that out. The last major event that I saw there that somebody found something really special, and I hope I'm accurate on this, but I want to say I am. Jimmy Washam won the MLF. I think it was the Toyota Series Championship there. He won that belt, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he found something really cool, a bunch of largemouth consolidated in one area behind an old underwater dam, and he was popping them on top water, and drop shots and stuff like that. So he found something pretty special and ended up getting the victory with all largemouth on that lake. So, but I think you're right, Pete. I think you find something special and you're going to be good to go.
It was the state record and the world record, 11 pounds, 15 ounces in 1955.
So it's been a few years since they
and that was July of 1955. So that fish was probably closer to 12 and a half.
Yep.
a few months before,
months before that.
What I'm anxious to see about it, and what I think I'll enjoy, is that it's been a long time since they've gone to a smallmouth lake or predominantly smallmouth lake and outside the north. And what I mean is outside Gobi territory.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I guess the Mississippi River, but that's not a lake, so it's a little different, the river setup. But like, there's no gobies, at least as far as I know, there's not gobies in Dale Harlow. So
there's definitely not.
So they're gonna be.
Where were they at last year when we were heading to the Classic? They were on. Where were they at? Because we passed them going into Knoxville.
So they were on the Tennessee River.
They were on Tennessee River, right? So, but I mean, there's not giant smallmouth in there, but there's good smallmouth in there, right?
Yeah, I guess you're right. There are good smallmouth, and you go to like all those Tennessee River lakes, right? There are some big smallmouth in there.
But there's no goby in there, is there? Yeah.
No. So they set up differently.
That's true.
Shad's the primary. Shad, I'm sure crawfish, but I know shad's a big forage for them in those Tennessee River Valley lakes. Yeah, they were on Douglas or one of them.
Douglas, that's right. Yep, you're right.
Yeah,
because Keith Boucher had to make the run back, jump into the Classic and do his thing.
So I do take that back. I guess they have been to a couple places in the south to smallmouth. But when I think of Dale Hollow, I know there's largemouth in there.
Yeah.
And I was actually talking to a guy at the expo at Knoxville this past weekend, and he's like, yeah, there's actually some really good largemouth in there, and some people he knows exclusively only go target the largemouth there. So, but
could be interesting. Yeah,
I think of Dale Hollow as a smallmouth lake, so maybe that's why.
Yeah, I think the history's been that way, but I mean, if the largemouth are growing now, then they could flip it on its head, and then they should be on beds that time of year. The largemouth should be, so that could be an interesting one. I don't think there's any spots in there. I don't think they're in all three lake, but they could be. But either way, I know that smallmouth have been king in the past.
And if they are in there, they're going to be the northern strand spots.
Yeah.
But I will say this. I mean, now they're back to every fish counts. So just because it's a spawn lake, they may go chase a couple big kickers spawning largemouth. But if they find the numbers in the smallies, they might switch their game plan up and just go hit as many smallmouth spots as they can. So that'll be an interesting one if we can see it for sure.
You'll be able to see, just not the first 2 days when they catch all the good bedfish. Well, it's MLF, so they'll catch them every day, the same ones. Then they're going to head stage 4 on Lake Eufaula, Oklahoma. That's April 30th to May 5th. Again, tail end of the spawn, probably post-spawn. Lake Eufaula is pretty far south as far as Oklahoma, so they're probably going to be pretty well wrapped up.
Yeah, to be honest with those lakes out in Oklahoma, I kind of know when like some of the Missouri lakes spawn and that transition is, but like Oklahoma, I mean, it does get very hot in the summertime, but it could be cold in the winter too.
They get cold winters. That'll be an interesting one. I don't know. I can't predict what that's going to look like. I think it'll be a post-spawn event, but like Ben was saying, they do get some pretty cold winters. And if we get a bunch of cold fronts that come through kind of middle America, it could push that back as far as when that occurs.
I think that's and sorry for smacking my lips. I did it once. I think that is a completely dirty water lake, though, if I'm not mistaken.
For the most part.
Yeah, I know the MPFL went there last year. And I think a major tour went there the year before. But for the most part, and I'm pretty sure it's dirty. So
a lot of dog flipping.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens on that lake. But yeah, that's a place I don't know anything really about, so I can't speak on it.
Yeah, I don't know a bunch. Kind of looked at the history. It's not really anything special as far as history. It's not like Lake Eufaula, Alabama, where we know they can catch some giant bags out of.
Yeah, and they've had opens there and stuff before. Yeah. It's always like, I want to say like 12 to 18 pounds. It's kind of like
and I think that's
range.
I think with MPFL was around that 13 pound.
Yep.
13 pound mark a day to win. So that's probably pretty average, but who knows? They may go out there and find something special. But again, every fish counts. So
that's true.
It makes it more interesting. If you get on a school of 2.5, 3 pounders, you can catch 100 of them. Then it makes for entertainment and a big bag, so to say. Then they're going to head to Kissimmee Chain. for a heavy hitters event. Again, don't know who all qualified for it. Probably should have looked that up. That's May 18th through 23rd. So non-traditional Florida tournament.
Well, this is like they did, was it last year or 2 years ago when they went to the Harris Chain around the same time of the year. It was April or May. And I actually love it because most of our Florida events are always in early March or late February.
Yep.
Yeah.
Very rarely do we see, post spawn once those fish is pulled out. And, I love seeing it because it's just a lot of times it's a different way of fishing. You're looking for shale beds, you're looking offshore grass. And to be honest, I think it sets up more like if we will go down there any other time of the year.
Yeah.
Instead of that, 3-month window down there that they a lot of times spawn in, that December through March, late November through March. The rest of the year, you could probably use a lot of the same tactics that they're using and just try to find out where the fish are located. So that's why I'm excited to see it. It'll be interesting to see how it performs, compared to when they did the Harris Chain a couple of years ago. And the great thing is, I was actually watching a YouTube video last night, the night before. It's one of the guys down on the Harris Chain. He's like, January's been tough down there because those cold. You remember that cold fronts that come through, and water temperatures were like in the 50s on places on the Harris Chain. So, and in January, the bags out in the lake were like 13 pounds, 15 pounds a day.
Yeah.
So it's been really tough, and so it'll be interesting to see how they would do there later in the year. And it also takes out. I love seeing the spawn events in Florida, those big bags, but this cold front really mess them up. And it can be, how many times have we watched an event and practice is good, or the first 2 days of the tournament's good, cold front rolls through.
That's right.
Yep.
And it kills those Florida bass. It just shuts them down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I would not want to be Group B going into the second day when Group A just crushed them. A cold front moves in that night and you're like screaming around the lake trying to figure out how to catch 10 pounds. You know what I mean?
Again, that the one good thing about every fish counts format, and then it resets after the cuts, is it doesn't matter what Group A does. As long as you go out and come out of Group B and make the cut, that's all going to zero back out, and you're going to start with a clean slate, which I'm critical of MLF, but I really like the way they do that because it doesn't leave any of those guys out of it. It might get exactly what we just described. You go to Florida, Group A has a great day, cold front rolls in day 2. That Group B is going to struggle because, like Ben said, those Florida bass do not like cold fronts. They don't like unstable weather. They really do lock jaw and just sort of quit biting. So that format, eliminates that. Then you just need to go out and maybe catch 10 pounds to make the cut. But then if you get warm weather the rest of the time, you're going to, get right back out there and be able to compete. So
sounds like they need a F1 bass introduction down in Florida, true 50-50 split, right? Then it would be just, good fishing all year long. So after heavy hitters in an unknown environment like the Kissimmee Chain, we have no idea what it's going to throw at us. They come up to something very similar as far as like the ecosystem's concerned and the habitat. They come up to the Chowan River here in North Carolina, Virginia border situation.
No, it's going to be. I don't think anybody's going to run up to Virginia.
No.
Mm-mm.
Well, they come up here. And that to me is the most exciting tournament, just because it's almost in our backyard.
Well, I agree. It's in our backyard. And I think all of us have experience on the Chowan River.
Yep.
And we spent
a lot of time down there.
Yeah. We know how it can fish and we know what can come out of that river, those river systems. Because I understand they can run anything within the sound. So they could run all the way up Chowan if they wanted to into the Virginia. I think they can run at the Alligator River. I mean,
they can run anywhere that's connected by the Albemarle Sound. So, yeah, I mean, it opens up a whole lot. You're going to see some big bat. You're going to see some really good fish caught. It's going to make a lot of people not happy because it's been kind of like a hidden gem that not everybody knows about. You're going to see, and we talked to, and we're going to have some local guides on that we have relationships with come on, and we talked to them about it at Martinsville, and it was like, I love it, but I hate it. I love it because I know I'm going to get some business from it, but I hate it because it's going to showcase what we have. But one thing people need to realize is just because they go, I can tell you right now, just because they go in there that week and they absolutely smash them, doesn't mean you're going to do it the next week because wind direction, current, weather, everything is plays such a huge role down there that it can change by the hour sometimes as far as where the fish are, where they're biting, how they're setting up. So it's going to be awesome. But again, not everybody would be able to go out there and replicate because of the changing weather conditions. And one thing I will say, they're going there at a great time of the year. If you like to see people catch fish on a frog, you're going to see a lot of good fish caught on a frog. You're going to see a lot of good fish caught on a swim jig. But I can tell you most likely the person that wins that is going to go out into the sound and catch them offshore. That's where most tournaments, sorry, local guys are won. They try to keep that a secret. But most of the guys that are consistently putting up 5 fish, 30-pound bags are doing it in the sound.
Yeah, I agree. That's probably where, especially that time of year, post spawn, that's probably where it's going to be won. Unless somebody makes a really long run to go
somebody's going to go to the alligator and catch big fish
and find something special. And the benefit with MLF is you don't have to return the weigh-in.
Yep,
that's true.
So you can make that long run.
Somebody
fish
could,
at least 2 full periods. Probably you're not going to get the first full period, but
no, because they can run. They launch and can start running before the period starts.
Yeah, I think like 30 minutes.
30, yeah, 30 minutes.
You might lose in the boats they're running. You might only lose 10 minutes.
Okay,
you can make that run from Edenton to the alligator in 40.
That being said, you might only lose 10 minutes. You might also lose a lower.
Yeah, you may not make it.
Yeah, you may not make it. But the Chowan and that entire system, they go from a really good place to practice, at least the guys that make it in heavy hitters, to the Chowan. But the fish act very similar there.
Yep.
You talked about the weather conditions, rising and falling water, wind, all that stuff. Temperature as well. Those fish are very, very much like Florida fish. So those guys are going to have to pay very close attention. I wonder how much G2 people are trying to get on that system, but I saw it firsthand last year with Pete, and I won't say anything specifically, but what I thought looked great ended up being a trash situation. And I was completely taken back by it. I was like, this doesn't even make sense. Well, to me, it didn't make sense. But to the locals, they're like, I ain't even putting a boat in today.
Yeah.
It was like, what? Why? Everything looks like you're going to catch a 10-pounder everywhere you throw. Yep. It always looks like that.
It does.
That ain't the case.
It does always look like
I guess maybe we should break down kind of because we're familiar with it, what the river system looks like. And Pete, you can fill in the rest here in a second, because I've only fished like the upper northwest portion up by Ahoskie. So I've never really gone all the way down to Edenton. That's where my club used to fish at.
I can say with pretty good confidence nobody's going to run up there and fish.
I would agree. I would agree. Caught a couple good fish up there, but it wasn't as consistent as it's going to be down there. But up there it's tannic water, a lot of creeks off the side, lots of lily pads, lots of cypress trees.
Yep.
That's pretty much the entire system. Except for the alligator, some of the other, the Scuppernong is another river down towards those rivers, a little bit different because they're more tidal. There's a little bit more salt.
So, that's the
more brackish.
That's the other thing we should mention is that the Chowan doesn't really have a traditional tide.
No, it's wind driven.
It's wind driven. It moves up. It does move up and down. It can move up and down, a foot or more. I've seen it 6 inches personally overnight.
The normal is about a half inch. If you don't have any weather, their normal tide is about a half an inch.
If you don't have weather,
if there's rain or anything anywhere else, then it all changes. If the Roanoke's high and it changes, then it can be a foot overnight.
Yeah.
It's very crazy the way that whole system works.
I saw a 6 inch change.
Yeah.
Up there. And that was because the wind went from blowing in, so blowing west, it started blowing straight like east. And just pushed out. It was pushed up and then it got pushed out.
Yeah.
And it did affect the fishing.
It definitely does. It's interesting that they have the opportunity to make those long runs so they could run down to the alligator. You can hear us talk about that a lot. The alligator is a place you could see a guy run, fish, and put 100 pounds up in 20 fish. Easy. You could easily have a 5-pound average over 20 fish and put 100 pounds up. If it's right, that river is full of giant fish. It's super dangerous. I'm going to say that right off. There's areas where GPS doesn't even work. It's very easy to get lost. But it's more of that like switchgrass, sawgrass, whatever you want to call that. And then lay down. I mean, the laydowns and the stumps. I've seen cypress stumps and they're bigger than this table. like gigantic cypress stumps in that place.
We should
Usually
make a
pretty
bet.
clear water, but if the wind's not right, it can go to bad really quick. Like dangerous bad. I know lots of guys that have run up there and had a 40-pound bag and will win a tournament and can't make it back to weigh-in.
Yeah.
That's the advantage they have, though. They don't have to. If they can't make it back, they'll just call somebody to come pick up. Because I have to double check, but I don't even think they have to take their boat out of the same ramp. They just have to put in and take off from the same place every morning. So they could, in theory, have somebody come pick them up later. I'd have to double check to make sure. So if I'm wrong and you're a huge MLF fan, let us know. But they don't have to worry about that. But it's super dangerous and it's a risk because you are running 40 minutes. If you're going way upriver, an hour. And if the wind's not right, I mean, I know
Just wasted 2 hours.
I haven't seen it, but I've heard sometimes you'll get in that river and you can walk across the jellyfish and you're not going to catch a bass
I wonder why.
because the salt will push in there super heavy. So
Yeah.
it just depends a lot on whether you're going to see guys make that run. There's guys that know the alligators pretty well talked about as far as big fish. The other cool thing about people running up there to fish is you might catch a 50-inch redfish on one cast and an 8-pound largemouth on the next. So it's definitely a cool fishery. And then anywhere in that fishery, flounder,
And the
stripers, bowfin,
They're
big
gonna
old
catch it.
giant bowfin.
they're going to catch
I
some
will
bowfin.
say, good luck finding a place to use the bathroom, though, gentlemen.
Yeah, you're gonna have to go off the boat.
That's a lot like Florida.
Yeah.
Very much.
There's no pulling up on shore if you gotta do your business. You're gonna have to. There's not many launches.
Pull out the old Matty Robinson trick.
You're gonna have to hang off the side and let her rip. But it's gonna be a cool one. It's a really unique fishery. I don't want to downplay the danger. People get seriously hurt and killed every year down there. And people that have a lot of experience down there get seriously hurt because it changes so much. And with all of this weather we've had, I'm super nervous about my first trip down there because I know there's going to be a lot of stuff that wasn't there that's there now. There's going to be a lot of new hazards. I don't know how many of the boat lanes that I usually run and that I have marked are going to be usable anymore.
Yeah, I know when something's changed, when Pete takes a certain right or a certain left and he comes off the throttle, it's not because there's another boat coming. It's not because there's a bear crossing the river. It's because he saw something. He was like, that was not there yesterday. And he makes a waypoint on his graph. So I haven't even taken my boat down there. Not that I'm scared, but I'd rather Pete just drive. But yeah, it'll be cool though. And I think there's going to be a lot of water eliminated.
Oh yeah.
And that'll be interesting too. And yeah, I know we're spending a lot of time on the Chowan, but that's because it's where we're at or close to. It'll be interesting during their practice period how much they find like little shallow deals, and then when they go back there during the tournament, they may not be there.
Oh yeah.
So that'll be really interesting to
I
see.
can't tell how many times I've caught them shallow good and they weren't there the next day because the wind changed or
Hopefully 1 pound is the minimum.
I think it's 2.
Is
so
it
it's
2?
gonna be you might see a lot of fish caught that don't weigh.
Yeah.
I think MLF went to the 2 pound for all of their lakes.
That is true.
Now the 2 pound minimum. There's a lot of, and Trey saw it. A lot we would catch and he'd be like, oh, that one will keep. And it's 12 3/4.
Yep.
13 3/4. What do they had to be 14. Yeah. So
14,
13 3/4 and they're 1.6 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
Kajillion of them. But there's certain parts of that river where you might catch that same 13 3/4. I know because I've seen it and it's 2.5 or 3 pounds. And I've seen some 14s that were almost 3 pounds.
Yeah. Footballs.
Like giant because they just sit there and get fat. So
Yeah.
You're going to see them caught potentially a bunch of different ways, but frogging, flipping, swim jigs are going to be the king, except for those guys in the Sound. I'm really curious how they fish that.
Yeah.
That's what I'm looking forward most to see, is seeing how they break that down and see who gets out there and what they're doing to target those fish.
I think you're going to see some jerkbait fish offshore for sure.
Mm.
I think they're going to find some brush piles. They're going to find some offshore structure and stuff like that where fish are holding in current and, things just like Pete said, sitting back and letting that forage come right past their face. And those guys who find them offshore, they're going to nail them, dude.
Yeah. It'll be a good event. It's going to be a good showcase.
So are we done? I was going
that's all I got. Yeah. I'm excited for that.
So, the next place I think is a really cool place too. And I've never fished there, but the James River.
Yep. Stage 6.
Yep. Stage 6, June 25th through the 30th. They're moving up to the James River.
Oh, I wonder if that changed. I thought when the schedule came out, it was back to back. I thought it was.
Yeah, it looks like they put a week between.
Yeah, they got a week or two between. It's just a 4-hour trip up. Not even 4 hours probably from the chill one. 3 hours. 3 hours.
Yeah,
from the chill one. So just right up the road, James River, an actual tidal fishery.
That
a
is
true tidal fishery. And I mean, there's a lot of tournaments go there, but I mean, it's going to be a great event.
Yeah, that one's going to put a lot of those guys to the test. That they go from a tidal fishery to a wind-blown fishery that may look tidal back to a tidal fishery. And James is in Virginia, right?
Yeah.
So, but you're right, Ben. Like that place gets a lot of pressure. There's a lot of guys that run tournaments out of there, but I don't know how that one is going to be won, but I think you're going to see some pretty decent weights come out of the James River.
Yeah. What's the other river they can run up this? The Chickahominy?
Yeah, Chickahominy. They're going out of Richmond. They can fish the James or the Chickahominy. 15 pounds a day usually on 5 fish is pretty. You're going to be pretty close.
Yeah.
That's a big swim jig, lots of swim jigging in that grass. There's a lot of grass.
I found out they love their black and blue swim jigs up there.
Jigs,
yeah.
They love them up there.
Well, does it fish a lot like the Potomac?
Yeah,
I think so.
Yeah. I don't think it's as nasty because the Potomac is just gross looking, but I think that it's going to be a pretty fun shallow water deal for those guys.
It should be, yeah. That's been king, unless they do that does get affected quite a bit by weather. So if they get a big cold front for the summer in our part of the world is, if it goes from 90 every day to 70, those fish tend to push a little bit deeper and it changes kind of the way you target them. So it'll be an interesting one, but you're going to see a lot of swim jigging, a lot of punching. There's mats, grass mats, flipping, all that good stuff. So if you like that sort of shallow water combat fishing, that'll be a good tournament to follow.
That's a good saying. I like that.
You won't be able to watch day 1 and 2.
Oh, combat fishing.
I don't know. By then you may be able to watch day 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Given the outrage, they may make a change to their planned broadcast schedule.
The only other place in Virginia I would have liked to see them go is like Smith Mountain.
No, you're gonna make the locals mad.
Yeah, I know, but you're gonna make the locals mad no matter where they go.
Smith Mountain's on a huge upcycle right now. They're catching some really good
They are
fish.
catching big fish out of that place. So.
Somebody's gonna end up there.
Yeah,
and it may start with a B in the next couple years,
and end with like ass.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, they had one there a couple years ago. I don't know if it was an open or like what level it was, but
yeah,
it might have been 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah,
they've had some BFLs. I'd have to look. Yeah,
we got some buddies we got a good buddy that likes to fish that lake a lot. So it'll be cool to see though the James River, those guys head up, and kind of cool how they're working themselves. I guess working themselves up the country.
Yeah, they couldn't get up north too early.
Yeah,
they couldn't get up there for smallmouth spawn. Bad things happen when that happens.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, they don't have any smallmouth spawn events this year, interesting enough.
Yeah.
But then they are going to go to smallmouth fishery in August. St. Lawrence River, we all know what that's going to be.
Slugfest.
If they can get on the lake, it does make a difference if the weather's not right and they can't get on the lake.
I wonder what the weights will be.
Oh, wow.
You could see
over hundreds a day.
Well, I mean, there were century belts and bass there.
You could see 100 pounds in a day easily.
Could we see 200
in a day?
No,
I don't know about in a day.
I don't know. It just depends.
10 fish or do
you know how those schools like it's crazy?
So 20 for 100, you'd have to have 40 for 200.
Oh, I mean,
Wheeler on day 1
40,
38.
40 of that quality. I mean, I know there's a lot of that quality fish, that 4+ pound, but that's a big.
You're right.
That might be a big.
150 might be.
I think 150 is probably super realistic.
53 pounders.
Yeah, but
I think that's super real.
Since the weights reset after Group A and Group B get done,
I'm just talking about in a day.
I know, but like as an angler, from their perspective, I wonder if they're going to take fish management seriously into consideration with a place like that.
Probably not. You can catch because you can literally. I think 150 pounds is going to be pretty easy for some of those guys. 53 pounders, because we've heard Maddie talk about it.
Yeah,
all the guys we've had on from the elites talk about St. Lawrence. Like you get sick of catching 3-pounders. They don't even put them in the live well, even if it's the first fish of the day.
Yeah, they don't want
guys
to die.
that throw them back.
One,
they don't want to die, and two, they know it's not going to help.
And they leave when the schools are all that 2 3/4, 3 pounds.
They leave
Because they need that 3.5 to 4.5 class.
So for MLF, I don't think that fish management is going to be a concern unless they're not finding big schools of fish. If they have to fish the river, like if they can't get in the lake because of weather or whatever, then I think it's a different game. It's absolutely a different ball game. But if they can get out on the lake every day, they're just going to go out there and whack as many 30-pound smallmouth as they can. I mean, if we see perfect weather conditions like we saw a couple years ago with Jay Shakira, I don't know if it was on the St. Lawrence. I think it was St. Lawrence. That was when. But if you see perfect weather conditions like we saw over a 4-day period, I completely agree.
Well, not even that.
It doesn't even matter because look what Bass did last year. Yeah, 3 century belts, and it was not perfect weather.
Yeah, those are like 8-foot waves
on day one. Yeah, Maddie said he saw legit 8-footer.
Yeah, let's see how many guys are good at surfing if that's the case. You know what I mean? So. But yeah, I mean, the swells get real big up there. Who knows what this year's going to look like compared to next year? You know, we talked about that with Corey Johnston at, Anglers Choice Marine. We've talked about it with a lot of the smallmouth experts. Like, fish are getting conditioned to the pressure, to the sonar capability, stuff like that. Fish are moving around. If they get beat up on a spot year after year where they're spawning, they're not just going to die. They're going to move where they're spawning, and the same thing applies. And now I think where they live is probably going to stay relatively the same, but smallmouth migrate so freaking far. You know what I mean?
Some of those bigger fish are going to get wise to the game, right? So they may be in different spots. Yeah. And so you may start to see way more of those 3-pounders, 3.5-pounders, not see as many of those 4.
All the dumb fish are going to get caught.
Those young, and I can tell you, I've had days. The best day I've had on Lake Erie was 100 fit, 101, 3 every single one of them was 3 pounds. And they were just 3-pound males stacked up pre-spawn. And it didn't matter. You catch whenever you cast. Those fish, when they get schooled up like that, they're probably not going to move much from the traditional areas, but those bigger ones, they get bigger for a reason, right?
Yeah.
And some of that is going to be them moving around. We see it on our lakes. Like, certain small lakes, not even small lakes, certain lakes here, the fish have changed because of the pressure. Mm-hmm. And we sort of figured it out a little bit last year, and I'm not going to talk about what lake it is. Check fish tips. You might find something on there. But no, seriously, we sort of figured it out last year, right? Like the fish are behaving differently. They've started to do different things. And they aren't where we were catching them traditionally in years past. And a lot of that is pressure.
Yeah.
So the schools, those 3-pounders will probably still find. I think we're going to start to see less century belts in a 5-fish format because I think those bigger fish are going to get smarter and are going to start getting a little bit harder to catch.
Which is why you see a lot of guys doing things differently. You got some weird stuff being put on boats
47
now.
forward-facing sonar.
You got all these sonar units, but then you got brakes. You got these crappie brakes that are being mounted on the back of the
Dude, I'll tell you what, I saw Milliken. Those were sweet.
You talking about Becker's sonar dome?
Yeah.
Wait, what's he got? I didn't miss that one.
Well, I think he's got 3 graphs up front. He's got like 2 at the console. He's got the crappie brakes.
Oh, Becker's running the crappie brakes too?
I think so.
Yeah, he is. I just saw a walkthrough of his boat. But yeah, I mean, you see that like they're doing, of course, like drift paddles and these new brake systems are there to not put you over the top of the fish to scare them off. But like guys are taking like some precautions now because they don't want to get within that distance and close the gap on these fish to scare them away because they know how sensitive they're getting to all the different sonar and all the pressure and stuff on the water. So, the fish are evolving, the anglers are evolving, but at the end of the day, it's, you're going to keep fighting the battle against the fish, man. So, it is pretty cool though. And I'm excited. I'll tell you what would be really exciting in an event like that. It could be really exciting, but also really tiring is being a marshal, being the weigh guy, weighing all those 3-pound fish.
Get annoying.
Imagine
get your curls in.
Imagine you sitting there in 8-foot swells while guys are trying to catch 3-pound smallies and you're just trying to weigh them in. We'll see how many 2-minute penalties they get from fish being dropped if the conditions are pretty trash. So, but
well, like I said, if you're seeing consistent of those big waves, nobody's going to go out on the lake. Like,
there's going to be
the guys that went on the lake last year had to. Matty had no choice but to go out there because he had to requalify.
That's
to
true.
do that, he had to catch he had to catch a bag every
Well,
week.
you know
so he
what?
had to take the risk and
That is the last event, and
You
they're
know.
cutting the field.
That's true.
yeah, but
Ooh, that's
There
true.
could be a lot of pressure on a couple guys.
maybe, but most of the guys that are going to get cut aren't going to save from getting cut. If they're not in the top 20, right? Like the top 20 are guaranteed, and then it goes by lifetime
Stat.
So if you don't have it lifetime and you're not in the top 20,
and the top 5 rookies.
Yeah, top 5.
So like, there's going to be probably like 4 to 5 guys.
maybe a few. You're right.
That
So-
are going to feel the pressure.
Is Poche's fishing BBT this year, right?
As far as I know,
Is he fishing out of his small gator tracks?
I don't. He's not fishing the elites this year, right? Yeah, no,
No,
not fishing
yeah.
the elites. So just BPT. I don't know what boat. I mean, for every other lake, that boat sets up pretty well.
I know.
Well,
I just
we were
wanted-
talking. Someone said he wasn't.
I don't think
Okay.
At one of the expos, someone
I would love
said
to
he wasn't.
see, as much as he goes off the grid and he does crazy stuff in that boat, I want to see him take that boat and 8-footers
No,
out on
you
the
die.
St. Lawrence. I don't want to see him die. I'm
You
just
would
saying,
die.
like, think of the
I don't, you
a
probably
motion-
wouldn't die, but you're going to sink that boat.
Yeah,
you might
he's-
go down.
You're
He's-
going down.
he's staying on the river on that one.
Yeah. No, I'm pretty sure he put a video out that said he proved what he wanted to prove out of that little boat, and he was going to go
Yeah.
back to something more.
I wonder if he's going to be able to reset, like, sell that thing.
No, I don't.
That one might
I
have to
don't
go up on the
know
wall.
If I saw that one for sale, if that was one I would argue.
Wow.
But
They won a red crest.
But you know,
yeah, yeah.
but BPT,
No, not Red Crest. It won. Brian Thrift won Red Crest.
yeah, Keith Poche
He
won
just won
that.
a
yeah,
regular.
That's right. He
sport.
won the event as the classic. was
That's a
started.
classic.
Yeah.
That was when he ran right up
Tennessee
and was
River.
fishing the
Yep.
dam. Yeah.
Mhm.
But this is Trey's opinion. As much we're all fans of the sport. We're all critics. Things that are done well, we criticize them and commend them for doing things well. This is all leagues across from your local club all the way to the national.
Yep.
We're also critics of, the things they don't do well. But I think that the schedule is kind of a cool schedule. There's some new fisheries that they're going to, different times of the year that they're going. I think it's going to test the anglers, but I think it's cool that they brought the all fish count, 2-pound count format back. Just get it on the air because your fans really want to see
Now,
it.
if we could just watch it.
Just watching it, So
And the problem with us is, right. So I guess the coverage starts tomorrow.
it does.
Tomorrow, Thursday. Well,
Yeah.
NPFL starts tomorrow too.
Yeah,
So
I'm gonna watch the NPFL.
I got to have multiple screens.
I'm just gonna watch day one of the NPFL. I've lost desire to watch the BPT event.
And you know what? Those guys on the tour, man, they're good dudes. They're just doing what they need to do
they're
to
doing
feed
what
their
they need.
families. You're subject to a situation that you may not be comfortable
We've
with.
had
but
extensive talks about it.
Yeah.
It's management at this point. It's not the anglers.
Yeah.
It sucks for them. The anglers aren't getting exposure because of some decisions that were made for whatever reason they were made. But yeah, it'll be cool. Like you said, I think it's okay schedule. I do like a few of the fisheries they're going to. I like that they're going to some different fisheries at different times. But outside of the Cho one and the James, it's pretty cookie cutter, the choice of lakes.
I mean, I like the show one, obviously. I like Dale Hollow. I mean, I'm excited to see that one.
That'll be cool, yeah, because they haven't had anybody there for a while.
And I'm also excited to see Santee a little earlier. And then Kissimmee Chain. Those would be the top 4 that I'm looking forward to in May. I want to see someone drag a Carolina rig over shale bed and do some of that
damage.
do some Florida fishing like that.
So I wanted to bring this up. I don't want to end the show on a bad note, but I do want to end the show
On a bad note.
I want to talk about this. Bass published something earlier about mourning the death of a collegiate angler. And that's a tragedy in the world. That's a tragedy for the sport. But Bass says that they're all heartbroken to learn the news of this angler's tragic death. And I don't want to name his name, but you guys can go to the Bassmaster website and talk about it. But, this is an angler that his life was, cut really short. I don't really know the details of what happened. I don't know if you guys know the details of what happened.
Yeah. So it was heavy fog, 2 boats running. They could see each other. They both corrected twice, but they corrected the same way both times. And they just couldn't avoid
That was the one during practice, right? That they aired about a week ago or so. And there was some footage from the local news station on it. And, the boats were pretty tore up and stuff. But, we talk about it all the time on this show, like safety, safety, safety. None of these green or brown fish are worth losing your life over. There's already enough danger on the water as it is, especially with people that aren't competitively fishing, recreationally and all that other stuff. So no reason to cut your life short. We are praying for that family. Mourning the loss of an angler like that's a tough pill to swallow, man. So, our wishes to the family of that angler, and commend Bass for coming out and making that statement and stuff. So 2024 is going to be, it's going to be wet and wild. We're seeing more pressure on the water, which means that the industry is growing. So it's not a bad thing that people are getting out on the water, but all the more reason to take those precautions, from your personal flotation devices to your warning systems on your boat, whether that be a horn or a loudspeaker, whatever the case may be. Follow the rules and regulations of each state that you live in. And just make sure you're practicing boating safely. Guys, got anything else?
No, I don't have it. I will say there was an issue with one of their inflatable life vests where it didn't inflate. I don't know if that's the young man who lost his life or if it was one of the others, but apparently one of the other guys that was ejected during the accident landed nearby and was able to grab the individuals whose didn't inflate. So just know that those do need some service. If they've been in your boat for a while, there's a good chance they're not going to blow up when you go in. They need new CO2 canisters. They need to have those service kits. They're relatively cheap. So if you run an inflatable, just make sure you're keeping up with it. If you're going to count on it to save your life, that's really all that I have. Make sure you wear it. Make sure that you're as safe as possible out there. You don't have to run everywhere at 75 miles an hour. Also, last thing on that, I've heard that there were some people that were sending some pretty nasty things to the tournament director. The tournament director is not at fault here. The fog was not so dangerous to where they couldn't run safely. I don't want to beat any kids up, but it sounds like a little bit of a lack of experience. Like I said, they both saw each other. This is from witnesses that saw it. They both corrected. They just kept correcting the same direction. So they kept correcting into each other. And at some point they got to where you couldn't correct Abbott anymore. And there was a collision. So just be smart if you run into that situation, but don't be ugly. I'm sure that tournament director is being hard enough on himself because it happened under his watch. A young man lost his life doing something he loves, and he doesn't need a bunch of people sending him ignorant messages just because they think they know better. So we say it all the time. We want to reach for the positivity. So, don't beat that guy up anymore. And he's probably already beaten up himself, and it's definitely not his fault. So I just wanted to say that because I saw that today. The other big news real quick, we will end on a little bit of a positive note. Yeah. Congratulate our friends Brad and Paul in the National Professional Fishing League, signed an exclusive contract, an exclusive deal, some type of exclusivity deal with Bass Cat Boats today. So they got some pretty sweet incentives for Bass Cat anglers that are fishing the NPFL. I don't have the details pulled up. I'm not going to try to remember them. A great chance for folks to make some more money this year, up to an additional almost $14,000 next year, $27,500 additional if you win an event and are running a Bass Cat. So super excited that they have that deal signed with Bass Cat. I think that's really cool to see one of the boat manufacturers come in and to see our buddies over there keep killing it. So congratulations to them on that deal. When they were on their show, we talked about how important sponsors and partnerships are, and for them to land a key one in industry, an endemic one at that, which is tougher and tougher to do. It really shows, that they're doing things the right way, and they got a good thing going over there. So just kudos to them. Congratulations to all our friends over there, all our anglers over there that are running Bass Cats. Hopefully you can get one of those nice checks, a little bit of extra money, for doing well in a tournament.
I'll tell you what, I would just take my label off my boat and put a Bass Cat label on it. What you gonna do? What you gonna do, Brad and Paul? Just kidding. Kudos. Ben, you got anything for the group?
No, I'm good.
Hey, guys, we really appreciate you supporting the show. We are seeing this at every show, expo, trade show, whatever, through our comments, all that stuff. We appreciate you guys helping us grow this channel, grow this show, and keep this content flowing. Pete and Ben and I have said it before. If you get the chance, it's free 99 for you to go leave us a review, whether good, bad, or ugly or indifferent, doesn't matter, but it really helps us out with the show. Head on over, like Pete said, to OneCastFishing.com. Check out the podcast apparel on there. I think there's a few hats and shirts left, which helps us continue to grow this channel. We may have a new partnership announcement coming here soon, so stay tuned for that. Check out the next couple episodes that are going to drop, and I know we have really great guests lined up for 2024, working around the tournament schedules. But it's not just all tournament anglers. There's going to be some different stuff coming at you. So help us continue to grow a culture of anglers, helping anglers one cast at a time, and we'll see you on the next episode.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Oh, God, it's a toad, son. It's a toad, dude.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day.